here we are for math section 9.5. Now this might look a little different to you because I had to find a new whiteboard, online whiteboard, because the one I was using, something was wrong with it. I don't know, it wouldn't let me on. It kept telling me something weird. So anyway, I found this other one. So we probably actually won't even need to use it this lesson, but anyway, I like to have one up there just in case I want to show you something. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and start on section 9.5. Let's look in your math book on page 192. Now, today is kind of, we're going to do 9.5 and we're going to kind of go over 9.6, which is basically what they call the chapter synopsis, which is basically a chapter review, just kind of going over what we learned from this chapter about percents. And you're going to take the quiz over the chapter when you get ready. Okay, so look at this page 9.5. This is mentally working percents. Now, a lot of times when you're at a store, a restaurant, or something like that, you need to find a percentage mentally. You can't just whip out your phone or calculator or whatever. So you need to do it in your head. So it's helpful to be able to round and multiply by percents that are easy to calculate. For example, what's 20% of $23.75? Well, round $23.75 to 24, and then rather than finding 20%, just find 10%. 10% super easy. All you have to do is move the decimal one place to the left, and that's your new number. For instance, in your mind, you're going to think 10% of $24 is $2.40, because remember, you're multiplying 10 cents by $24. Remember, when you multiply, you move your decimal to the right. I said to the left, I'm sorry. You move it to the right, however many zeros you have in that number. Well, 10 has one zero. So $24, to the left. I'm confused this morning. Give me a break. It's 6:30 a.m. So you move your decimal to the left, and it becomes $2.40. But you need 20%. So basically, it's just 240 and 240, which would be 480, and that would be your 20%. Then you in your mind, you know that 23.75 minus 480 would be whatever. Of course, you can kind of round it to kind of figure out what it's going to be. You could actually round 480 to $5, and we rounded 23.75 to 24, and just subtract that in your head, and you know that gives you an example. So anyway, just to kind of let you know how that works, look at the top of page 193. What's an example, or the example is, what is 15% of $32.50? All right, so round $32.50 to $33. Basically, you're going to think in terms of percents that are easy to calculate, like 10%. So 15% is 10% plus another half of that. So you're going to find 10% of $33, which is $3.30. And then you think, well, what's half of $3.30? Well, it's $1.65. So then you're going to add $1.65 to $3.30 to come up with $4.95. Now, if this were me thinking this in my mind, I round everything to whole numbers. So I'm giving myself whole numbers in my mind. This is, my mind does not calculate $1.65 by itself. Some people's minds do. Mine does not. So I would be thinking in my mind probably $2. But nonetheless, it gives you an idea to just round numbers up. When you cannot use your calculator, just round numbers and use, numbers that are easy to find the percents, which would be 10%. Well, if it's 15% that you need to find, first find 10% and then just add half of that to it. Or if you need to find 20%, find 10% and add another 10% to it, whatever that comes out to be. If you only need 5%, find 10% and subtract half of that. So anyway, it's all simple when you kind of learn how to do percentages. But when you can do 10%, that's the easiest to do, because you can really work anything from 10%. I hope all that makes sense to you. Okay, so let's look at the chapter synopsis on 9.6. It says, in this chapter we explored percents, which give us yet another notation for recording ratios. Here are the highlights from our study. This is what we did. A percent is a shorthand way of representing a ratio as a portion of 100. To express a percent as a decimal, We simply divide the percent by 100. To express it as a fraction, you put the percent in the numerator with 100 as the denominator. Remember when we did that? To multiply or divide percents, first you need to convert the percent to a decimal or a fraction, and then proceed as normal. Okay, on the next page, some other things that we learned in this chapter. You can add and subtract percents without converting to a different notation, since percents are all numerators of the same denominator, 100. You can find percentage of a number by proportion or multiplication. Rate equals percentage divided by base. Rate times base equals percentage. Kind of move those around. Rounding and using easy to work with percents like 10% can help you find percentages mentally. So these were all things that we used. And these are all things that we've done that you will be using in your daily life. No matter what, even if you're a stay-at-home mom, you're going to be using stuff like this because you're going to be in the kitchen. Sorry, I had a phone call I had to take. Anyway, so these are things that you're going to use every day no matter what you do. So it is important to know this chapter. If you don't feel comfortable with the percents, then I don't want you to take the quiz. I want you to let me know, hey, I don't feel comfortable with this. Can you give me some more work to do to practice on it? And I'll be happy to do that. So if you do, then that's great. But your assignment today is twofold. First of all, you're going to do worksheet 9.5. There's a little bit on the back. It's actually a very short assignment. Number 3 at the bottom says out of the box. It says to pull out a newspaper, visit a library, or look online or whatever, and record one use of percents that you might find. You don't have to do that, but basically, here's what that means. It means, look, if you're looking in a newspaper, you know how newspapers are divided into sections. You've got classifieds, you've got news stories, you have editorials, you have advertisements, sports, things like that. Almost every section you're going to look in is going to have some use of percentages. If you look in the news stories, you might have a percentage in poll numbers. If you look in the sports, it might be wins and losses, or it may be the percentage of downtime a certain player has. If you look in the advertisements, obviously you'll see that you're 20% off or whatever it is. So anyway, it's just wanting you to look at a newspaper with the idea of percentages in your head to see how many times and what categories they're used in, and it would be almost everything. So anyway, so you don't have to do number 3. That was just kind of keeping your eyes open to the use of percentages. So you'll just work on number 1. Number 2 ought to be easy. Number 4, you're just making change. And number 5, you're working in the kitchen. So if you have trouble, let me know, and I'll be happy to work through these with you. I don't think I'm going to grade 9.5. I really probably should, but I don't think I'm going to. Just kind of use this to make sure that you know what you're doing. When you are finished, in the back of your book, or if you have a worksheet or whatever, you're going to take quiz. What number is that? Quiz 7. And it's actually a fairly short quiz because this was kind of a short chapter anyway. But you're going to take quiz 7, and it's just, it's very short. Actually, there's just a little bit on the back. But like I said, before you take the quiz, go back to the first part of chapter 9, look through it, look back over your worksheets that you did for chapter 9. Make sure you understand how all these things fit together, how to change from one to another. If you are unclear, let me know, because I don't want to go to a new chapter until you're understanding this. So anyway, that will be all your assignment for today.